You can't disagree without looking at the evidence. Hey, it's Prince of Queens, and due to some drama in my personal life, I feel compelled to make a quick video stating the obvious, which is the fact that it is impossible to have a disagreement without actually being aware of what the persuasive arguments for or against what you claim to disagree with actually are. Let's say you gathered video evidence proving that a babysitter was molesting your child, and you tried to tell your spouse about it, only to have your spouse say, "I disagree. I don't believe the babysitter molested our child. They seem perfectly nice to me. And they told me that they'd never do such a thing when I interviewed them." You'd obviously say, "Yeah, I thought they seemed nice too, which is why we made the choice to hire them together. But it turns out that we were wrong, and now I have video evidence that they molested our child." How would you feel if not only did your spouse refuse to look at the evidence, but they blamed you for simply gathering the evidence, claiming that you must be delusional and hateful towards the nice, innocent babysitter? The babysitter who is abusing your child. That's basically how I feel right now. I mean, I know it happens in every group of people, but people from the left at the moment seem to be incredibly allergic in regards to doing this in any way, especially when it comes to looking at arguments against Black Lives Matter, Islam, and feminism. I imagine, once upon a time in America, most people were expected to be good Christians who went to church as much as they could, celebrated Easter and Christmas, and thought Jesus really did die for their sins. If you told these good Christian people that the church they went to was tied to a greater network of churches that actually have direct corruption and political ties with people in government who don't always do good things with their shared power, the person that you were explaining this to would probably be dumbfounded. They'd say something like, "Why do you hate Jesus? What's wrong with loving thy neighbor, bro? Don't you think that heaven would be slightly preferential above going to hell?" The person likely would not be able to separate the potential for corruption within the church from what the church claims that the church is. Basically, this person truly believes the lie. Well, feminism, for example, has become basically the same thing. If you listen to Erin Pizzi's interview with Sargon of Akkad, link in the description, she is the woman who created the first domestic abuse shelter in the UK in 1971, and she explains just how intensely corrupt feminist organizing was, even in 1971, and how much worse it has gotten. She said the budget for feminism in America now is about $2 billion a year in taxpayer money, which goes directly into the pockets of radical feminist organizers, the likes of which kicked her out of her own abuse shelter, then smeared and terrorized her into fleeing England, all because she was unwilling to state that only men can be violent. Feminists routinely lie about women like her all the time, or men like Dr. Warren Farrell, who is an expert on male issues, who they have violently protested in the past at his speaking engagements, even though he's the nicest guy. They continue to lie about less-known men's rights advocates, or simply somebody like Cassie J, who is a neutral documentarian who made a film about MRAs called The Red Pill. And that's really just the tip of the iceberg. This isn't a few bad apples within feminism. These plentiful, countless bad apples are the crop that you grow when you base your entire ideology around the lie that all men oppress all women, and that everything wrong in the world is the fault of patriarchy. And yes, that literally is what feminists who know anything about feminism actually believe. They don't just want equality. They want to topple the very framework of Western civilization because men tend to be in charge, and they claim to want to replace it with some sort of matriarchy, which of course none of them have any real plans for. All they want to do is grow more and more politically powerful and get more and more funding. It's a gigantic scam. So I'm sorry, unless you know about at least a tiny bit of these things, you can't tell me that you disagree and that feminism is about empowering women. If you want to sit through Erin Pizzi's entire interview about forming the world's first domestic violence shelter and then being driven out of her own country for refusing to say that women can be violent too, then be my guest. But I don't think anybody would unless they have an ulterior motive. That's all I have to say for this video. Drop me a comment and become like these people if you want to hear more and help me improve the quality of my videos.